Hello everyone and welcome back to the BrightWorks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Two matches actually, because today I've got two extra cheesy little games that were sent on over and were pretty quick, so I figured why don't we go ahead and have ourselves a little bit of a double feature. So today spawning in the first match is the Red Commander. It's going to be none other than Griko Bratko. Griko Bratko hailing at 47 open skill, silver chevrons from Germany, going to be showing us some cheeky plays here as an Armada Commander, and already off the bat spawning with a bit of an interesting play here. We have Fruit, the Orange Commander, spawning right alongside the Red Commander. Now, I won't lie, I'm a little spoiled as to what happens this game, but maybe this is cluing you in already. There's clearly some air shenanigans going down right here in the midline for the Red team. Spawning in much more conventional positions over on the right-hand side, on the northern right-hand side here of this map, it's going to be none other than Jigsaw, boxing themselves into a beautiful little circle of wind turbines. Yeah, what a pleasant little formation of wind turbines we've got right here. Kind of beautifully aesthetically placed here from Jigsaw 43. Going to be going into some very typical, some very standard play with this Armada Commander right now. Handing over a bunch of wind turbines to the frontliners, hoping that they can utilize that energy to build a couple more units and contest that front line a little bit easier. Yep, okay, there it is. That's a Hephaestus, ladies and gentlemen. The heavy transport, the T1 heavy transport, which is, I thought these were medium transports. Okay, interesting that those have been reclassified as heavy transports. Anyway, capable of lifting up and moving the commanders, but without any armaments or anything like that, like the T2 heavy transports. So they can pick up commanders, but that's basically the only reason why you would build one of these, as opposed to one of the light transports, which you can pick up basically anything else. But okay, here we are. Are we going for some sort of cheeky drops here? One option, of course, is to put some vehicles up on this high ground. That can be super, super annoying. Just dropping a single Wolverine up here on this high ground can be really, really annoying to deal with, especially if you're going up against two bot players, because they don't have anything to deal with that. They don't have Wolverines of their own to fire up here. It means that the air player is essentially the only person who can deal with that. Shuriken and then bombers, that sort of thing, in order to take it out. But obviously, if you drop a missile truck up there too, then it becomes exponentially more difficult to kill. It can be a real issue, and it can take out basically every metal extractor within the radius of both of these two bases, meaning that it can be a very, very efficient way of dealing tons of damage on the front line for very, very little cost. Grunts here taking a fabulous trade from the Lavender Commander, marching forward and blasting down the Grunts right here in yellow, eventually going to peter out here as they clash against each other in a wave of bodies, but eventually the Lavender Commander will be victorious here. We do also have a couple of these blitzes moving forward. There we go. Okay, Commanders on the move. Actually, it's three Commanders. We have the Pink Commander into transport as well. They gave me fire, Griko Bratko and Fruit, all flying across the map right here. Yeah, Lavender Commander spies this. It's time to start thinking about grouping up. You can utilize these grunts to shoot those commanders out of the air right here. As you can see, those can fire up into the air. It's not a lot, but you can start to sort of force that commander backwards here. Meanwhile, the commander of the yellow, well, it's the commander of the orange, dropping the commander in pink directly into the base. All right. D-guns away, and the LLT will be doing tons and tons of damage to this commander, but eventually it'll be D-gunned down. Meanwhile, this commander is looking for an opportunity to land off the coastline right here, will eventually be plopped down and able to fire away. It looks like Griko Bratko makes it in as well. AA is set up by Suba Legend, but already the commander has hit the shoreline. Well, all right. Fruit now moving forward. D-guns away from Griko Bratko. Looks like the Pink Commander has made his way past and is going to encounter Jigsaw 43, ready to sacrifice his life to save the day. It looks like Griko Bratko has one target and one target only. It's the T1 lab right here for the Seafoam Green Commander. Boom goes the Orange Commander on the front lines right here. It looks like that long-range destroyer was enough. Boom goes the Red and Seafoam Commanders as well, taking out everything for constructing in the back line right here. And I think shortly we are about to see the Yellow Commander moving in as well. Ooh, can we see a D-gun on those corpses? That would be phenomenal. Yeah, if we could D-gun those corpses to clean up all that metal from the backline, it denies all of the resources that otherwise would be given over here. Now, the reason why this works, of course, is the phenomenal aggression coming through from Chronopolis, who's playing right into the way that this strategy has gone down, which is essentially to say that we're just steam powering units out as quick as we can in order to flood the enemy bases with aggression. And there you go. You can see with the thugs marching forward, Amma 2017 is a really rough way. With the Yellow Commander now on the front line, DeBoss is also trying to hold, but obviously the more commanders die on the front line here, the more metal there is to waste. Yellow Commander and Green Commander embrace. And I think this is going to be the death of the Yellow... Well, okay. Yellow Commander actually walking away. DeBoss manages to live here. Don't think that was the plan, but does manage to live. The resign vote is called. Another commander goes down as the thugs march forward and the lavender commander falls. Suddenly the red team down to 5 commanders. Actually 5 commanders apiece right here. This is still playable. I want to say this is still playable. But the blue team doesn't believe so. The red team manages to snatch victory in this fast-paced, action-packed, calm-dropping, cheesy game of Beyond All Reason. Sometimes it really is that easy to crush the morale of the enemy team and ruin their frontline plans. And as soon as those plans go out the window, it's the age-old mantra that RTS players, we prefer to think outside the game. When we're playing the game, we don't like to think so much. We'll take a look at the graphs right here, and we'll see how the economy is scaled out. It looks like tan and green in the lead. We'll take a look at the statistics, and then we'll jump right on into game number 2. Match number 2, a game played a little bit longer on Altered Divide Remake, the bar remake, that is. Going to be played between some lower level commanders here, as opposed to the higher level cheese that we just saw there, but definitely on the shorter side, so I'm curious to see exactly what goes down here in this match. Today, spawning as our blue Cortex commander, well, at the very least of this game, it's going to be none other than Belquiz, coming in at 21 open skill. Representing the metal leagues at the very least. Yeah, sort of the bronze and silver leagues here. It's going to be none other than Belquiz. Going to be going as some Cortex bots. Interesting choice on this map, but probably makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of hills and stuff here that are easier to contest as bots, and especially once you get into those spider bots, it can be really, really beneficial to have the multi-leggedness, the all-terrain capability that those spider bots do grant you. On the other side of the map, spawning as the red Cortex commander, it's going to be none other than Smart Robot Robert 03. Robot Robert the Third, going to be playing here as Cortex bots as well, and going to be showing us what their take on Cortex bots should look like. A couple of wind turbines, metal extractors, all that good stuff to get that early game economy up and running. Now, Alter Divide Remake, I like to take a second and zoom out here and just take a look at this map. It features a bunch of different interesting things, one of which being these little Easter Island statues, which are little carved heads that are worth quite a bit of metal here. In fact, if we hit our metal vision, we can actually see that there's quite a lot here. 300, 100, 200, 200. That's 4 plus 4 is 8, plus another 3 is, plus another 5 is 1,300 metal by my count. Oh, there's another, so 1,600 metal. That's a lot. That's actually a lot more than I had realized previously on this map. Yeah, there's a lot of reclaim to be had here. Okay. Definitely worth getting a resbot out on the field here then. No question about it. It's definitely going to be worth it for these commanders to go into, at least multiple of these commanders, or some of these commanders, to go into those bots and, yeah, get those resbots out there to reclaim a whole bunch of that metal on the front line. Already we have some aggression coming out from Wanstock, the cyan green commander here, sending out the very first of the rovers, headed across the map here to try and do a little bit of damage. The blue commander also sending out some units, going to be a couple of grunts marching out to the front lines here to try and defend the chokes. Now, there is quite a lot of metal to garner up in the midsection here from the metal extractors, that is, obviously from the reclaim like we just talked about, but also these metal extractors. These are 2.0 each, and there's, as you can see, clusters of 2 to 3 of these metal extractors all over the place. Very, very useful for getting that economy up and running. Looks like the orange and blue commanders are going to be the first to find each other in the darkness, and it's a violent exchange here, but one that is won handily by the blue commander Belquiz between his 2 grunts to 1 for Muppets. Not bad, but the second grunt out from the orange commander here is going to be sent across the map in order to try and do a little bit of damage, taking a bit of an interesting pathway. Can grunts actually traverse that terrain? Let's check our terrain viewer. Looks like absolutely not. Purple indicates terrain that units cannot walk over, and that entire mountain is lit up like purple. Means this grunt is going to have to go all the way around the side in order to actually find its way into the back line here of the blue commander. Meanwhile, the hot pink commander also taking advantage of that pathway right here that the blue commander left open, and sending a whole bunch of units through as well. Taking a much more traditional path, I guess you could call it. A much more open path, maybe a better word here. And just like that, the blue commander is suddenly jumped upon by a whole bunch of grunts. LLT in position here to start blasting away, though. Lovely stuff as that LLT chips off the damage, or chips on some damage onto those units right there, pulling apart their shielding and carving holes in their armor plating. Eventually, the grunt reinforcements right here from the blue commander will be enough to clean all this up, but it's a slow-going process, and obviously you're producing those units one at a time versus a cluster of units, and that's the difference between... Well, that's the reason why it's so efficient to go ahead and get these units in position, taking out the line of reinforcements coming out. The reinforcement bonus is when your lab is close enough to the front lines that you can actually... Essentially, the distance between your laboratory and the front lines is quite a bit smaller. The aggressive bonus here, though, is that you're dealing with one unit at a time coming out of the laboratory if you catch those supply lines coming up to the fronts here. Man, more and more aggression coming through, though. Yeah, I love to see this. The Orange Commander sending some more grunts through, trying to take advantage of what was, again, a vulnerable pathway and continuing to put pressure on it. The Blue Commander not noticing here. Did we lose radar vision? It looks like those stumbled within vision right here of the Seafoam Green Commander, but we don't have any radar here for the Blue Commander. Means, of course, that these are undetected. If we switch to the blue POV, you can see these won't be detected until it's far, far too late. The grunts jump on top of this backline constructor in immediate peril here. Wind turbines go up in smoke, and losing that constructor burns. That was the constructor meant to save the base right there, and now suddenly grunts are going to be forced backwards again. This little choke point has caused so much damage to the blue team singularly. I wouldn't be surprised if that essentially determines the win here for this right-hand side of this map. Right here in the midsection, looks like the Tane Commander is dealing with a big run by blitzes, but nicely dealt with a deacon, and it looks like a beautiful surround from those grunts. Most of those were cleaned up quite nicely. Some pawns, yeah, looking to get in on the action, but not as active enough on the map to actually take advantage of the push going on right there. And that's going to be about 700 metal going right on back to the Tane Commander. Very nicely done. More pawns getting engaged in the action here, but again, like I said, it's just a matter of time before those reinforcements get out to the front line and before those pawns are whittled down before they can really do too much. And I gotta say, a severe lack of resbots on the map reclaiming all these rocks right here. I think the red team doing a better job of that overall, using either the commanders or resbots to eat up that metal. I think the blue team is a little bit slacking on their production right here. Riot tank quite nice, of course, for dealing with these big clusters of grunts and whatnot. Doing some good damage, sure, but also, of course, impulsing a lot of those, slowing them down and buying time for other units to clean them up. It means that this choke point is held for the time being, and that push was very efficiently deflected right here for the Seafoam Green Commander against the Orange. There's a Resbot eating up some more of that metal right here. Looks like we're going to try and go for the metal up on this high ground. Resbot's not able to traverse that high ground. Again, purple on the mountain means that there's no such way for those Resbots to get up there, meaning they're going to pathfind all the way around, and I have a feeling we're looking at some dead Resbots. Great trade for these medium tanks as well, blasting apart a whole bunch of those tan grunts right there. Resbots going down. Ugh, hurts to see. Wait, did I just... I see what the move is. The Red Commander producing absolutely nothing this game and instead going into a full-blown T2 laboratory. Builds a Tsar and gets it about halfway, a little over halfway, and then hands it over to the Tank Commander, hoping that this Tsar can be the line breaker right here that the Tank Commander is going to need in order to continue this push forward. Yellow Commander Kak Don Cheng, Yellow Commander Kak Don Cheng, in a little bit of trouble here. Some thugs pushing forward. Not the end of the world, of course, because there are reinforcements rolling out of the laboratory here. We have a whole bunch of aggravators coming up, but that T2 tank, the T2 heavy assault tank, is now coming out of the lab and rolling its way forward. Slowly, certainly, but very surely. T2 mechs is probably the next priority here. We have to make sure that these mechs come up and running. 8 metal per second is nothing to be scoffed at. That's basically your entire early game economy, packed into a single metal extractor. Always worth going ahead and getting those up and running as soon as you can. Getting those T2 units out and running is really, really important because obviously the earliest T2 units are going to have the biggest impact because they'll most likely be fighting against T1. That's where T2 units shine the very most. But there's also something to be said about the fact that getting those T2 mechs up and online means that you can produce more T2 units, and maybe even if they're going up against a slightly less favorable army, having twice as many T2 units or 4 times as many T1 units is going to work out better in some cases than having a single T2 unit. If there was a single T2 unit that could change the game, though, it would definitely be the Tsar. Oh, it was handed over here. I was just about wondering where it went. Yeah, the Yellow Commander inheriting the Tsar here, and I think that's actually a wise strategic decision right now from the Red team. Realizing, hey, there's actually 2 commanders pushing in on the Yellow Tsar. I think it's about time for us to go ahead and send that T2 tank where it's most desperately needed. We'll send the following T2 tank to another line that needs to be broken, but I think this is phenomenal right here. Excellent, excellent strategic choice right there from the Red team. I love to see it. Tsar is going to cause so many problems right here. Hot Carl 669, the purple commander, having a really rough time of dealing with this Tsar as it fires away into the distance. Even if it's inaccurate, its AoE does so much damage that the commander cannot escape from its devastating blast. Beautiful. Tsar needs to continue firing. We do have the aggravators to tear down the LFEs, but there's absolutely no reason why this Tsar shouldn't be working on the front lines here. getting as much value as possible. Looks like these pawns are looking for a little bit of a run by as well. Wanstock trying to push through this midsection, but I gotta tell you, these T2 Zars rolling out on the field, they're gonna be all the world of a difference right here. T2 metal extractors up and online. We need a little more energy. That 4 energy per second from the wind turbines is abysmal. Going into some advanced solar panels, not a bad idea at this point to make sure that we have the resources to fund that T2 production. You need about 500 energy for general T2 production. Going even higher, though, for Cortex, as their units demand quite a lot of energy for their coming up and running. Zar doing a phenomenal job, though. Yeah, blasting apart those T1 defenses with basically no issue. Technically speaking, this could be slightly more efficient without losing any of these units, but at the end of the day, losing grunts once you're already into T2 is basically like losing nothing. Coming in at 36 metal, that's barely any amount of time for production. Basically for free. Zar firing away, blasting apart Centurions in just a couple of shots is phenomenal. The way that you fight a Zar with T1 is to go around it. Horrified to see this big swarm of pawns moving forward towards the Zar right here. Yeah, Resbot's, the brave soul is going to dive forward here, I guess. Obviously a risky proposition, to say the very least. They are distracting the Zar here nicely, though, actually. In a bizarre turn of events, the pawn has actually managed to jump on top of the Zar because of those phenomenal distractions from those Resbots right there. I think ultimately the Zar has enough sustain to manage to escape from this assault right here. But an excellent little push, doing the very most with, well, basically the very least right here. I gotta give credit to the Cyan Commander. That was a lot better than I would have imagined it would have gone. At the end of the day, though, the Zar is just too strong. We have another Zar over here. Actually, sitting idle is a bit of an issue. Do we have any T2 up and running for the blue team? It looks like we do. Tiger tanks coming out of the lab right here. I'm not sure if those are going to be worth it. Yeah, we need something a little bit heavier hitting. I think the Zar really is the right option. Going for 2 Tiger tanks versus going for 1 Zar, I think the answer is clear in the early game. Once these swarms of units are up and running, that heavy AoE damage from the Zar is just impossible to pass up on. Oh, Salamander's coming out of the lab. Cheeky. Yeah, Salamander's a very good choice here. 350 metal, 7,000 energy. Not really that expensive, all things considered. They're kind of a 1.5 unit, a T1.5 unit. They don't do a crazy amount of damage, but they do enough to be dangerous to a lot of different types of units. They're fairly mobile, and they're relatively good at popping up in unexpected locations and being able to do a whole bunch of damage. Obviously, the fact that they're amphibious allows you to do some sort of cheeky plays with their amphibious assault as well. But in this particular match, their raw ability to just do a good amount of damage and have a crazy amount of HP is going to be all it takes. 2,127 HP. I wonder what that is compared to a medium tank. Are there any medium tanks still on the field? There sure are. Let's try and find a healthy one. Looks like none such exist. Well, I guess we'll take the healthiest one we can find. How about you, fine sir? 1,318, and that's at 75% HP. So a little more HP than a medium tank. Enough that it matters, I believe. Quite a bit more damage, though, is always a useful factor to acknowledge as well. And that heat ray beam, perfect for assault units, because obviously the heat ray beams, they grow in strength. Well, maybe not obviously. The heat ray beams grow in strength as they get closer to their target. So you might notice here that these heat rays actually get stronger as these tanks roll closer and closer to the commander here, or the metal extractor, or whatever they happen to be firing at. Just one of those properties of a certain type of weapon and beyond are raising the heat rays. Their damage falls off by about 50%, I do believe it is. Salamander's doing a phenomenal job here. Wind turbines in a row of 3 popping like a firework. The Cyan Commander now in terrible, terrible danger as the Salamanders break through. And just like that, the blue team calls the resign vote. 13 minutes into the game, and the red team has won with overwhelming firepower, superior aggression, and a little bit of technological cheese. Very, very nicely done by our red heroes today, taking the victory in this game beyond all reason. Let me know what you thought about the double feature. I always enjoy doing these, taking out some cheesier games for a little bit longer. And I sure hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the very next game beyond all reason. Peace out, everybody.